Pour Up. I'm Colina Bruce, and I have a very special guest with me here today. She was born and raised in Inglewood, the city of champions. She's been passionate about promoting nutrition, specifically plant-based health and nutrition, for over 25 years, and has a kids' book centered around it. And if she had an endless supply of cash and resources, she would travel the world. Welcome, Dr. Margaret. Thank you for being here today.
Yes,
How
thanks
you
for having
feeling?
me. I'm feeling great. I always enjoy holding space with you. I just love,
Yes,
I've been a fan
likewise.
before I even got to know you. I'm just so happy to be in
Oh,
community with you.
I
So,
appreciate that, and I
yeah,
receive it, and likewise.
thank you.
I'm gonna start with a moment of meaning,
Okay.
and so I'm gonna read a quote, and then you're just gonna respond to the quote. So the quote says, "The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind."
Ooh, can you read that one more time for me? I just want to hear it one more time.
Yes, the soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind.
Oh, that's good.
How do you feel about
I
that?
feel real good about that. I feel like that resonates with me right now. So, I'm somebody who moves quickly, talks quickly, always a thousand things going through my mind. And when I start to feel overwhelmed or have seasons of feeling overwhelmed,
Yeah.
I had to remind myself I need to get back to my center. So I will
Mhm.
just turn off the phone, detox social media, tell my husband and my kids, I'm gonna just go need to go
Yeah.
away, may need to be in this room in the house, or even sometimes take a trip by myself somewhere
Yeah.
to hear that inner voice, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, especially when you have people who need you, mom, wife, business owner, I got patients,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's hard to sometimes find that time for yourself and to hear that voice and what you really want, right?
Yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah.
Being still to hear that inner voice is how I read that.
Yeah,
So,
I loved it too. And I thought about the challenge of silencing the mind and how
mhm.
your mind is always going. And, like you say, you have that inner voice, but it's like, how do you tune out and like really listen to
Mm.
what you need to hear?
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
yeah.
hard part. Cause I
Right.
mean, yeah, I'm sure we all have tons of stuff happening up here all
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
time. Well, we are going to do a little segment called Getting to Know You.
Okay.
First of all, it's giving fashion.
A little
What
something.
are we giving today?
I was feeling, I'm going to be on camera with you. I wanted a little bit of spring colors, but it's chilly because you had that little
Yeah.
teaser of nice weather, and it's gray again. But, I always
Exactly.
like to feel good and look good and feel
Yes.
comfortable. So this is a big walking blanket, if
I
you will.
love it. I'm so here for it.
Yeah, and I was telling you off camera that I went to clinic this morning with a different coat on. I had on my white coat,
Yes.
took that bad boy off and put this
Yeah.
on instead.
Okay.
But
But
I
we'll
feel
be putting the
comfortable.
white coat back on later
Yes,
today,
yes, I got
but
clinic later on, but yeah, I feel secure in this. So
absolutely. I love
yeah,
it. All right. So you are from Inglewood.
Inglewood, yes, born and raised. Let
Yes.
that be not be a mistake for on the record. Born and
Okay.
raised,
And
proud.
what brought you to Seattle?
Medical school. So
Okay.
in 2006, I started at the University of Washington
Okay.
School of Medicine. But why Seattle? I got to backtrack about that. So my freshman year of college, so I went to Stanford for college, and at the time, I don't know if it's still the case, you get randomly assigned a roommate.
Okay.
And my roommate, Sherry Fang, shout out to her if she ever watches this, is from Seattle.
Oh,
I
nice.
love her.
Okay.
Still one of my girls. She was in my one of my bridesmaids, and I was like, I want to, Seattle, cool. There was a pre-med program. It still exists, but it changed its name. At the time, it was called the Summer Medical Dental Education Program, and it was for anyone who was an undergrad or just had graduated.
Okay.
So the year I graduated from Stanford, '04, they had that program at UW, and I was like,
Uh-huh.
oh, Sherry's from Seattle. Oh, why not check out Seattle? Came out here in the summer. Loved
Loved
it,
it.
loved it, loved it. And
Yeah.
that particular year, they had a lot of Black students from across the U.S. who were pre-med. So just, melanin, Seattle summer, all
Yeah.
the perfect things
Yeah,
to make you
yeah.
want to come here for medical school.
For
So
sure.
everybody was like, the Black folk I met were like, it's not like this year round. I was like, I don't care.
Right. The
It's
summers are
nature, the
given.
nature and the water. Because, growing up in Inglewood, lots of, there's not a lot of green. Beaches are there, but
Yeah.
a lot of concrete.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is something for me. This resonates with me. So I made it a goal to come out here. And here I am still almost 20 years later.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So, okay, I have to ask because you're from Inglewood.
Yes.
Who are we going with?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I already knew. I was like, she's going to ask me that.
I have to.
I'm West Coast,
Okay, okay.
Kendrick all
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's not even a
Yeah.
question. I was just in LA and you couldn't go anywhere around town without hearing that song blasted from
Yeah.
somebody's car. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here for
Yeah.
it. Okay. So you came from medical school, you've been here, you've been
Mhm.
enjoying Seattle, and you've been
Yeah.
working and doing a lot to promote like nutrition and
Mhm.
specifically around plant-based nutrition. So that is
Yeah.
something that is very foreign to me. So tell me
Yeah.
more about what that looks like.
Yeah.
Cause I need a steak, I need a, crab
Yeah.
boil, like what's
It's
a given?
okay. It's okay. So here's the thing. So a lot of people get really hung up on definitions. So I like to always kind of clarify. So
Okay.
people always think vegan, vegetarianism, and that is great. Don't get me wrong. But I
Okay.
like to use the word plant based because I feel like that's a lot more inclusive.
Okay.
So you can be 100% plant based like myself, where I don't eat any animal products, or someone who's more 70, 80% like my husband, who
Okay.
maybe he will get a steak every blue moon if he's out to eat somewhere or something like
Gotcha.
that.
Okay.
It just varies. I, as a doctor, though, just know this way of eating a more plant forward diet, a more plant slant diet, even if it's not 100%, is better for your health overall, right? We just
Yeah.
see the data that's out there: decreased risk of cancer, decreased risk of diabetes, of high blood pressure, high cholesterol, things that are killing our community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So once I learned the data, I was like, this is something I really want to instill into my practice.
Yeah.
So my primary care practice, I write books about it. Give talks around the subject. So I'm just
Yeah.
excited. And the biggest thing I tell people is just meet me halfway. You don't have to be all the way over there. Even just meeting me halfway will get you
Yeah.
the health benefits.
So what does that look like? Like what if somebody is curious
Yeah, yeah,
but they're
yeah.
not completely committed? What
Sure.
what would be kind of the first steps to
So that's a great question. So I might start off with like, okay, so if they're a breakfast, lunch, and dinner person, I might start with, okay, what do you eat for breakfast? And say the person says, I'm a hash brown and sausage. Every day I eat that. I
Mhm.
might say, okay, well, instead of every day having the sausage, maybe start off one day a week doing oatmeal instead. So just kind of
Okay.
simple swaps, starting out
Yeah.
with one meal of the day. That's one example. Or if they're a big Mexican food and they always get Taco Tuesday with ground beef, I might say, try it with beans this week,
Mm.
just trying to
Mhm.
mix it up. So
Yeah.
things just seem like a total like, oh my gosh, they made a whole 180 overnight. I learned
Yeah.
the hard way. You got to ease people into things,
Right, 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 right.
that works better for everybody.
Yeah. And what are you finding? I have a friend who's also a doctor, Dr.
Uh-huh.
Simmons, Dr.
Yeah.
Sita,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
should
yeah.
say. And she every time we go anywhere, she gets an impossible burger or, things like that. But she's finding things that taste good and feel good to her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's out there that's like, these are what you would recommend to someone who's like, I eat for the taste
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
So I think I'm reading between the lines. You want some flavor.
Yeah.
Yes, right. I always tell people nobody eats raw meat. We flavor it, right? And
Yeah.
like people will think, oh, tofu's so gross. And I'll be honest with you, only in the last 5 years did I really learn how to make tofu where it's fire. I made some last
Okay.
night for my son. And the trick is you want to freeze the tofu first. You put it in
Oh,
the
okay.
freezer.
Okay.
Okay, let that bad boy thaw, and it changes the consistency. It's almost like a sponge, and it really absorbs whatever you marinated in. That's just
Yeah.
a tip for free,
Okay.
right? But you were asking me where could people do if they want to get more flavor?
Yeah.
So I'll start off first thing. So if you're in Seattle, a couple of restaurants, but one that comes to mind, Plentiful, because I'm not really about that fast food vegan life. Every now and again is okay, but if you want to
Yeah.
go someplace where the food is good and it's healthy for you, I like Plentiful.
Okay.
Have you heard of Plentiful
I
before?
haven't.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
So they have they're expanding. Gosh, I was just over there the other day. One near Seattle U. And there's
Okay.
one Capitol Hill, one in Pikes Place. They're opening one in Linwood. But their whole thing is health forward plant based eating, right?
Okay.
So you can. So I was there the other day and I got a habanero burger.
Mm.
But when you get the burger, they give you a choice of either an Impossible Patty or a Field Burger Patty, which is what I got, which is a blend of different vegetables. It tastes really good, though, I swear.
Okay.
And something else.
I'm
But
down to try
they
it.
give you options, though. That's what I
Yeah.
love. Like, you can make it more junk food, vegan like, or when I say junk
Mm.
food, processed like,
Right,
or a
right,
little
right.
more closer to the actual vegetable and
Gotcha.
beans and such like that. So, kind of exploring options out here for restaurants.
Okay.
There's Katie Vegan Thai, there's Plum Bistro. If you like a good vegan burger that's a little more fast food, like there's Next Level Burger. Oh my gosh, how can I not give a plug to Sushi Samurai? That was the hardest thing for me, was letting go of the fish. They're
Mm.
100% plant-based
Oh,
sushi. I
wow.
have
Okay.
fed that to friends for parties, and they're like, "This is not real fish."
Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of going out to
Okay.
restaurants to get inspired to play with different flavor profiles is why I'm
And I
bringing that up.
know Black-owned Mo Vegan pops up
Yeah,
on
I have
my
not
feed
been.
all the time. I
I
haven't
need
been
to
either,
go.
but
Thank you for that. I need to
yeah,
go check
yeah.
them out.
For
Yeah,
sure.
they just
Yeah.
opened up, I think, an actual restaurant front.
Yeah.
So if Mo Vegan folks watch this,
Yes.
I'm coming.
Okay,
Okay,
for sure.
thank
All
you.
right. So, you are promoting nutrition to
Yeah.
grown-ups and also
Yeah.
to young people. What
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
look like? And tell us more about
So,
your book.
yes, so my book, I Am Renee Shay's Kitchen, A Kid's Guide to Plant-Based Nutrition from A to Z, is my love letter really to patients and families. So I'm a family doctor trained to actually deliver babies, take
Mm,
care of kids and grown-ups all the way through the life cycle, right? I don't
yeah.
deliver babies anymore. But after seeing thousands of families over the years, biggest trend I saw, people don't really have time to eat healthy, don't even know what to eat,
Okay.
don't really know what does like eating healthy look like.
Well, I think too, sorry to
Yeah, of
interrupt
course.
you. I think it could be more expensive a lot of
It
times.
it can be, and I tell people just to kinda stay there for a second. Shop in season, that's one way to keep costs down. Buy in bulk, so we're big
Okay.
bulk shoppers.
Yeah.
And then also frozen is okay too.
Okay.
Frozen vegetables and fruit are okay,
Okay.
right? Those are kind of some tips I would say for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
But dealing with families that people wouldn't know how to eat healthy or just what to eat, right? And I had mentioned the link to these different chronic diseases, so I thought if I can target the kids at a young age so they can understand why we're eating this way, not just eat an apple, it's good for you, like explaining why. And
Right,
I know
yeah.
you had the book for your son,
Yes, I do.
but it's really a bite-sized nutrition book. And it's when you get into the nitty-gritty, it starts off A's for apple and it's rhyming. Then we're talking about things like fiber,
Mhm.
glucose, iron,
Yeah.
and why that's important, right?
Yeah.
And for me as a mama, as a doctor, as a proud Black woman, it's important for folks who look like me to see themselves in the book, right? So my
Yes,
kids are the
that's
main
huge.
characters. They're the
That's
narrators.
awesome.
They're on the
Yeah.
cover, right?
Yeah.
And then the illustrations features my little kids, so it's Black bodies. So people are
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is for me,"
Yeah,
right? A
absolutely.
lot of times people think eating this type of way is not for us. That's not true.
Yeah.
Um, the Black folk are the highest number of people who are turning vegan in the U.S. People don't
Mm.
realize that.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a movement.
That's so
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. Okay, so you are you are a doctor of family
Yes,
and
yes,
life
yeah,
cycles,
yeah.
right?
Lifestyle medicine. Yeah, yeah,
In
yeah, yeah.
lifestyle medicine, so from young to women of a certain
Yes,
age.
yes.
And we've talked a little bit about the kind of phases that we go through as women. And one thing that has come up is perimenopause. And
Yeah, 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 yeah,
so,
yeah.
first of all, I know you don't necessarily want to lean into definitions, but share more about what that looks
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and
yeah.
how do we know that, we might be experiencing it or
Yeah.
how to prepare for it
Yeah,
mentally,
yeah, yeah,
physically,
yeah.
all those sorts of
Love
things.
that. So first thing one you can do to prepare for mentally is just to even know what it is. A lot of people don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I have talked to many of my girlfriends. 'Cause I'm in my 40s. Oh, I'll use myself. Oh, I'm perimenopausal, and then they'll look at me like eyes wide, like because they know if I'm saying that about myself, they must be too. And I'll say,
Yeah.
so yeah, you are too. They'll be like,
They're like,
no. And I
"What?"
had to first tell people this is not an ugly word to
It
toss
can be
out.
kinda taboo,
It can be,
yeah.
but thankfully there's more conversation. You'll see there's trending a lot nowadays in mainstream media and everything like that, which I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But really breaking it down. So premenopause, right? That's when people are childbearing, trying to have kids, all that. Perimenopause, which I'll come back to. And then menopause, the actual moment of menopause, when you have 12 months straight without a period.
Mhm.
Everything after that is postmenopause, right? So
Okay.
menopause is a
Yeah.
one day, one event, but that word menopause will be lumped to kind of describe everything around it.
Yeah.
Perimenopause, what I'm in right now, the period, no pun intended, leading up to menopause, right? And that period can last 7 to 14 years. People
Oh,
don't
wow.
realize you
Okay.
can start in your late 30s or early 40s, right? And people will think, do I need blood work? It's not necessarily diagnosed on blood work, honestly. It's
Yeah.
not at all. Based on age, typically. So if you're 40 and up, typically you're perimenopausal, based on symptoms, which we'll come back to, based on irregular periods, which you may or may not have, right? People don't realize that. For many
Mhm.
people, it's the symptoms, right?
Okay.
And there's 34 plus symptoms. And it's not just, oh, my cycle. It could be mood swings, rage, anxiety,
Mm.
depression,
Mhm.
skin changes, acne, dry skin, rashes, vision changes, estrogen receptors, which is what's causing the perimenopausal symptoms,
Yeah.
the fluctuation estrogen, I should say. People don't realize we have estrogen receptors throughout our bodies. That's why these
Yeah.
different organs are targeted. For me, I realized I was perimenopausal last fall when I never really dealt with things. Had anxiety before. I would have these moments of anxiety, feeling like my heart was racing. It was very
Mm.
kind of
Mhm.
scary to experience, actually. And also these intense mood swings. And I got little kids, and I was just like, oh, yeah, this is not cool,
Yeah.
right? And as God would have it, there are some things that happen professionally aligned where I was actually learning a lot more about menopause and perimenopause. By the way, it's not taught in medical school. That's hopefully changing
Oh,
soon. It's just
wow.
not, there's maybe a brief lecture on it. That's it. That's part of
Yeah.
the problem. They have a lot of
Yeah.
doctors who don't know a lot about it. So it just happened to be that last year, October was National or World Menopause Month. So I was going to
Okay.
different continuing education, and I was like, oh my gosh, learning about perimenopause. I'm perimenopausal. That explains these things that was
Right.
happening, and I would
Yeah.
talk about it with my girlfriends. And I started to kind of like I'm one of those personality types. When I learn something new, I'm a nerd. I go all in. I'm reading all the
Yeah.
things. So I started giving talks on perimenopause. Was able to talk recently at Nordstrom's actually on perimenopause and talk about that. Just trying to educate
Wow.
folks because
Yeah.
it's
That's a
really scary, especially if you're having more of the mental health symptoms. There's
yeah.
brain fog with it.
Mm.
There can be even inattentive disorder, so a little bit of ADHD, right?
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and I was going to say some of the symptoms that you mentioned could show up as like daily things that we go through
yeah,
as
yeah, yeah.
adults, as
Sure.
women. And so, when do you kind of, I mean, I think one thing that's important about what you mentioned is that you obviously had a certain amount of self awareness to
Yes.
say, like, something is
Right.
different, something
Right.
is happening. But it doesn't sound like there's really like a red flag, for a lack of a better word, of
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
this is something. So
Mm.
how do we, identify that that's happening? And then, do we go to the doctor, or like
Great
what is
question.
your
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
suggestion?
So I'll be honest. When like 35 and up, you should start to have these conversations with your aunties, your mama, if your mama's still alive, grand people, your people who are ahead of you, right, in
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
And then even with your doctor, I've started asking my patients when they're getting to late 30s and 40s about perimenopause symptoms. I'm bringing it
Mhm.
up now, right?
Yeah.
Before I didn't do that because I didn't know better,
Right,
right? A lot of
yeah.
people just don't know. So if anyone's watching this and you're 35 plus, this is the time to be, if you have older girlfriends or if you're curious, start looking up into perimenopause now so that if these symptoms happen to you, you're not like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
Right. And that's the biggest thing I see when I talk about things with my patients. They're like, oh my gosh, I had that symptom. I had that symptom. I had no idea. And I will always use myself as an
Mhm.
example so people can realize they're not alone
Yeah.
and then I can resonate, something within them. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So along with that, I think there can be definitely instances of like, oh my God, my life is changing,
Sure.
midlife crisis,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
Yeah.
How do you kind of encourage and support your patients through that
Yeah.
phase?
So great. So first of all, I like to reframe midlife clarity. Ooh, midlife clarity, that
Yes,
awareness.
yes,
Okay,
I
you're
love
right.
that. I love
And we're,
that.
halfway through, our life. And this is our time to really look forward to what's ahead of us,
Yeah.
by knowing that these changes are happening. It's not supposed to be a scary thing. It's
Mhm.
only when we don't understand. That's why I like to give people knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is healing. Knowledge is affirming.
Yeah.
Right. So first, kind of surrounding yourself with people who are going to support you, be
Yes.
it a healthcare provider, you can come holler at me, our aunties, like we mentioned, not even
Yeah.
just blood aunties, but just our
Right,
aunties
right,
that we
right.
have,
We all
right?
got them. Our
And,
village.
our village and lean
Yeah.
onto them, right? And then now that I'm in my 40s, I've really learned to value the importance of having friends much younger, much older than me. Before, my
Mm.
friends were always kind of around my age.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
got some fabulous friends in their 50s, and even got one friend, Dr. Leslie, shout out to her if she's watching. She's 75. This woman is fabulous. Okay, if you ever see her around Seattle,
Yes.
fabulous,
Come
right?
on.
And they can tell me things that they've experienced, and I got some friends in their 20s. It's nice to have that. That's some advice I give y'all
Yeah,
right now. Like, have friends a little older, a little younger
for
for
sure.
that perspective, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. So with that, this is my last question. When we think about, again, women of a certain age,
Mhm.
and we're thinking about, how we're moving into this next phase of life, and we want to not only feel good, but we want to look good,
Right.
and we want to just show up in our best way possible. What are your,
Yeah.
I know you have some tips and
Yeah.
things around that specific
Yeah. So
area.
my tagline I always tell people, because a lot of people, they may follow me on Instagram or see me and they're like, oh, she does a lot. But I tell people, because I have my skin business, Skinset MD, where I do dermatology care and have a skincare line. I do aesthetics, right? Then I have my primary care where I do primary care, right? Like,
Right.
people will see that and then see the books and see the speaking, like, oh, tell me about. And I say it just comes down to looking good and feeling good. I want people to be healthy, internally,
Yeah.
right? And then also look and feel confident. 'Cause I realize when people feel good about themselves and look in the mirror and they feel confident, just everything around them just feels better, seems better, just do
Yeah.
life better, right?
Yeah.
So midlife I think is really important to make sure. I'm gonna give some skin tips, if that's okay.
Okay. Yeah,
Keep your
absolutely.
skin moisturized, but
Okay.
the biggest thing, better than any service. You can pay money to see me for services and all that. I don't want to just take your money. I want to tell you straight up, like, use sunscreen. Like Black Book, we
Okay.
need sunscreen. It's not just about skin cancer. If you
Yeah.
have pigmentation issues,
Mhm.
the blue light from the phone and the laptops and the TV can make that worse, as well as the UV
Mm.
rays. And these
Okay.
UV rays are also photo aging. So, they say black don't crack, but it can chisel, right? So we got to wear that sunscreen. I have a good sunscreen if y'all want to check out
Yeah,
my
yeah,
line.
you do. I
Shameless
have
plug.
it. Yes,
Shameless plug.
I know.
Hydrate, drink
Yeah,
water,
that's huge.
right? Eat an anti-inflammatory diet. And the reason I like to promote a plant-forward diet is because by nature it's anti-inflammatory. God
Mhm.
gave us these fruits and vegetables for a reason. They're
Yeah,
healing. There's medicine in these foods and these herbs and these spices,
yeah.
right? The pharmaceutical industry is $1 billion industry for a reason, but there's lots of side effects.
Mhm.
The plants have really all we need,
Yeah,
right? And as a medical doctor, Western trained medical doctor who saw the light a couple years ago, which is why I had
yeah,
to go into private practice so I could really do this type of education.
yeah.
This education takes time, and I couldn't do it in a traditional setting. I worked in corporate medicine for a long time, and towards the end of my career, where I was before, I was spending 30, 40 minutes with patients when I'm only supposed to spend 15 minutes, right? So now
Mm,
I'm able to spend 30 minutes, an hour. I shop with my patients. I work out with them. That's just not common,
yeah.
right? But anyway, do good to your body, feeding it good foods that fuel you. So anti-inflammatory foods, just to be more specific, berries, dark leafy greens, beans, whole grains, right?
Okay.
Lentils, things
Yeah.
like that. Eat the rainbow, essentially. The more color on your
Mm,
plate, the better,
not the
right? And that's going to,
Skittles.
yes. Every now and again if you want, but not
Right.
every day, right?
Yeah.
But eat the rainbow,
Yeah.
not the Skittles. I like that. Oh, I might make a little
Come
T-shirt
on, come on.
idea.
Yeah.
Thank you. But yeah. That's going to help you radiate from the inside out, really.
Okay.
Right.
Awesome. And I know I said that was my last question. I have one more question
Yeah.
specifically for you. How do you practice self-care? Because you are doing a
Ooh,
lot.
yeah, I am
Yeah.
doing a lot. That's right. I am an extroverted introvert, so I vibe off of people. I
Yeah.
enjoy being around people, but I pour into people a lot. As a
Yeah.
practitioner, as a mama. My husband, he's wonderful. He's not really a high needs type of dude, which is why we work well. But he still needs me in some
You
ways
balance
too,
each other out.
right?
Yeah.
But I gotta say something for myself. So that might mean like something like honestly taking a staycation where I hop in the car and tell my
Yeah.
husband, I'm gonna go away. That's why I love living out here. You can drive an hour and be in a whole different type of environment,
Right, right,
right?
right.
Take a
Yeah.
staycation for the weekend. Um, Unplug from social media because social media is great, but for me, it's work. It's
Yeah.
really
It's a
marketing.
lot. Yeah.
And I'll detox and really start reading a lot of fiction. I'm really into fiction lately. So as someone who reads a lot of nonfiction, medical journals, things like that, I rediscover the beauty of fiction as a healthier way to
Mm.
dissociate,
Yeah.
and I'm really reading a really good book series I want to just tell you guys about. Have you heard of the book? The first book in the series is called Black Girls Must Die Exhausted.
No.
That's by Jane Allen.
Okay.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
actually saw that book about a year ago. I was at the Living Room. Shout out to Christina Clark, owner of the Living Room in the Central District. And I just like to buy, support, and I was just buying books. That book cover, if you see the book, Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, beautiful, Black
Mm.
woman, plants, pink background, all the
Mm.
things.
Bam.
And then the
Bam.
title caught my eye, and I bought it and a bunch of other books, added to my collection at
Yeah.
home, and didn't touch that book till about a month ago. I
Okay.
was going to Chicago to visit my bestie from college, and one of my girlfriends was like, okay, when you go on that trip, because I had a lot going on, I had this big speaking engagement. She was like, don't read any fiction, don't prep, don't do any work. No, don't read any nonfiction because I like to read a lot of like
Yeah.
nonfiction. Read fiction. I was
Mm.
like, oh, fiction. So I go down, I grab that book
Mhm.
because it's a novel. I don't want to give it away, but Black women watching this, listen to this, get that book. Okay,
Okay.
so good. And I'm on the second book now. It's a 3-part series. I learned. The second book is called Black Girls Are Magic. So I'm in that now. I'm
Hmm.
almost done. But
Okay,
anyway,
nice.
and
Yeah.
the third book is on my shelf. Black Girls Have It All or Must Have It All. One of the two. But anyway,
Okay.
yeah. So
So
reading
you're a
fiction.
bookworm.
I'm
You
a
you said
bookworm.
that, but
I like to hold the book too. Audiobooks are
yeah,
nice
not the
in a
Kindle.
pinch. I have Kindle and I do
Okay.
audiobook, but when it comes to I want to hold the page, smell the page,
Smell the
all the
book. Yeah.
things, right? So I'll do that. I'll put the kids to bed, my husband and I, and then get in and read a few pages at night, right? And then
Yeah.
go to sleep after reading a book, instead of scrolling and moving my body, right? Trying to incorporate movement. I have I'm sitting a lot, so sit, stand, desk in between
Yeah.
patients. I got a treadmill in the office, resistance bands, behind my office is the inner urban trail. So I had these walking appointments with my patients, for my patients, but
Mm.
also for
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
nice when the
yeah.
weather's nice that
Yeah.
I can walk with my
That's
patients.
really nice. Yeah. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
some things. And then
Cool.
my girlfriends, I got a lot of girlfriends, a lot of good, solid girlfriends, and who know me well, and they know when I start to get overwhelmed, they'll be like, "Girl, let's." Having fun is never a problem for me, though. I like to have fun. If you see
Yeah.
me out and about, I like to cut a rug. Oh, I'm
Yes.
aging myself.
Girl.
The cool kids say cut a rug. I don't know, but I said it. I'm cool.
Yes, you are.
Anyway, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
awesome. All
That's a
right, so
lot.
you've given us a lot to think about in terms of ways we can practice self-care, and I
Yeah,
think one of the easiest ones is, like, at least in Seattle right now, is the weather is giving
weather is nice.
something. We could
Yeah,
step outside and get a
yeah,
breath of fresh air or walk around
yeah.
or that sort of thing.
Let me add one more thing that's super
Yeah.
important. I gotta say, therapy does wonders.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm a big fan of maintenance therapy. Poop does not have to be hitting the fan for you to go to therapy, right? Like,
Mm.
actually, first learned about the concept of maintenance therapy a few years ago. Myleik Teal, who's wonderful, she's a businesswoman. She's actually from Inglewood,
Mm.
but she's based in Atlanta now, I believe. Podcast, businesswoman extraordinaire. She's fabulous. Anyway, she had one shared about maintenance therapy. Love that idea. So I started to, because at first I would go to therapy when I had, so quick aside, but related, I swear. So I have two beautiful kids, but I've had three kids. One passed away.
Oh, no, I'm
One
so sorry to
therapy
hear that.
initially, well, actually first marriage stuff, right? And
Mm.
then when my baby died, grief counseling. This is many years ago. But now, in this season of my life, maintenance therapy is just good for me as a business owner, as a
Yeah.
mama, as a wife, as a Black woman in America when they're trying to kill
Right,
us.
right.
Right? So I highly recommend
Yeah.
maintenance therapy for self-care. Getting plugged in with a therapist. And there's a lot of great resources out here. Watching Therapy Fun for one. Shout out to
Absolutely.
Ashley.
Yep, yep.
But yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'm sorry for your loss, and I
Thank
know
you.
just being kind of newer in the grief journey,
Yeah.
I hear that it gets better, but that it never goes away.
It never goes
and
away.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It never goes away. And your mommy, may she rest in peace.
thank you.
You knew her. I'm not trying to downplay what I'm about to say because it still sucks. But birthed the baby, she passed away not even an hour and a half later. Right, my daughter
Mm.
Grace. Think about it every day still. But
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
imagine knowing somebody. That
Yeah.
person's right there
Yeah.
with you.
Right. Yeah.
But it sucks. It never goes away. And I think acknowledging them and affirming them and honoring them.
Yeah.
I don't talk about it much, what I'm about to say next, a lot because it's still hard for me. But actually, my first book was about, it's a fiction book about the experience of losing my child. And
Mm.
so that's actually my first book. And it's meant to help families who've had a baby who passed away kind of honor them still and hold space when you have more kids after that. So celebrating rainbow babies and
Yeah,
angel babies. So that's
yeah.
my first book,
Yeah.
Iomi Days Train Ride to Graceland, that people don't hear about a lot because it's still hard for me to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
can only imagine. Well,
yeah,
thank you for sharing.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're gonna move into something a little more lighthearted.
Yes, let's
We're
get into
gonna
the light
play a
stuff.
little game.
Yes.
It's really not a game. These are conversation cards. So you
Okay.
can just pick a few. You can take a handful or whatever, and then I'll have you read like 3 of them.
I got 3. Yay.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So read them?
Yeah, read
Okay,
one
here we
out
go.
loud.
Oh, which historical sporting event would you like to witness? Oh, I got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Kobe's last game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm an LA girl.
That's
Okay, let me give you a little
yeah.
quick. I talk a lot. Is this okay? I'm gonna give
You
you some story.
good. You good.
So I grew up in Inglewood. I went to Kelso Elementary, which is
Okay.
across the street from the Great Western Forum. If you're a child of the 80s, that's where the Lakers played.
Okay.
Byron Scott, former Laker, went to my elementary school many moons before I did.
Okay.
So the Lakers, Body Divac, AC Green would come to our school and visit, like all the things. This is the 80s. I got to see them, meet them. Great. Anyway, Laker girl. I actually got to meet Kobe Bryant after his rookie year. When I went to a summer program at UCLA, and he was with Adidas, finished his rookie year, and there were murmurs he was on campus because even though he went straight to high school, from high school to the NBA, but he
Yeah.
was taking college classes that summer. And some of my friends were like, "Oh, he's on campus." Got to meet him, have time with him one-on-one. So
That's so
just
dope.
a great dude. I wish I would have
Yeah.
his last game. Yeah. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, my husband is a huge, I was going to say was, but still is a huge Kobe fan.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like, I mean, obviously it was a loss for everybody, but
Yeah.
especially for those who kind of followed his journey and his family. It was
Sucked.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
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 Okay. What else is on
Ooh,
there?
this is a good question. Which piece of land would you preserve forever?
Oh, wow.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
The first thing that comes to mind, so I'm just going to roll with it, is my parents' home. My parents still live in the same home
Yeah.
that I grew up in Inglewood. I was just there. What's today? Today's Thursday. I was just there last Saturday, Mother's Day weekend. I wish I could just cherish that land forever. And it's still
Yeah.
there, like I said, right now. But I
Yeah.
just wish we could just hold it forever because one day they will pass on, and who knows what
Yeah.
happens with the land. But
For
yeah,
sure.
that comes to mind.
Yeah. I was thinking that along the same lines. My grandma's home was in the CD in the valley.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, I mean, we all kind of grew up there and had family gatherings and all that stuff. And you know, I think most Black families have a story where the home that was the significant home is no longer a part of the family, but we drive by and uh, look at the price on it now. It's insane. And so I'm always like, damn, I wish we could have kept that in
Right.
the family, but
Right.
it happens. But we learn and, think about ways to preserve legacy,
There you go for the next
for the next
generation.
generation. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
last card.
it's a good one. What's the secret to having a good marriage? This is a good one.
Oh,
And I am very blessed to be able to say that I have a good marriage.
yes.
You know, so there's a lot of things. So the first thing that comes to mind, communication,
Yeah.
right? A lot of times you can get real in your head and not want to say out loud what you're feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be real and honest and everything. So I talk about perimenopause, right? One symptom of perimenopause can be having a lower libido,
Mm.
right? And if you have, we're all adults. Like
Yeah,
having a healthy sex life is really important for a good marriage.
absolutely, yeah.
My kids did not just come out the air.
Right.
Okay.
Immaculate
So when
conception.
I was having perimenopause, well, I'm in perimenopause still, but when you have these fluctuating hormones, sometimes you have these seasons when you just don't want to be touched, looked
Yeah.
at. So when I first had that experience last year, it was very foreign to me because I was like, my husband still looks the same. I still think he looked good,
Right.
you know. And then there would be, I just, and then I realized I have to tell him. So that's how he. So if he was here, he could tell you all about
Yeah,
perimenopause, because
yeah,
I
yeah.
like schooled him on it. So communication, that was an
And
example.
transparency,
Yeah, yeah. So he
yeah.
kind of knows, okay, it's not
Yeah.
him, it's just my kind of,
For
right.
sure, yeah.
And then being able to express needs, I guess it's related to what I just said.
Yeah.
And if you need time away, being able to express that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And just being good to each other and understanding that marriage is not always 50-50. There are
Mhm.
seasons, especially with me being a business owner, my husband may be pulling up more of the weight,
Yeah.
maybe cooking more, maybe cleaning more. We had a season of that, and then I have to, when you got to give them their props too, like, thanks,
Absolutely,
all the
yeah.
things. So I just came back from out of town and I was telling my girlfriend, I was on the phone with her. I was like, okay, I just got home. Let me go be domestic so I can,
Yeah. Do my little
right?
duties and
Like, so I
whatnot.
can, stay on the good side, right? But, in
Yeah.
all seriousness, just kind of knowing
It's
that's not
real,
always
yeah.
50-50,
Yep, yep.
and there'll be seasons, but you got to make sure you show the person you appreciate them and
Absolutely.
you value them.
For
But
sure.
yeah, but marriage is also a lot of work.
It is a lot of work,
Can be
yeah.
hard. And when you hit those bumps, you got to make sure you decide if you want to correct or you're going to
Right.
keep going this way. Right.
Yeah.
So that first year of marriage, we've been married 12 years together since '07. Right. That
Mm.
first year of marriage was hard. We didn't live
Yeah.
together.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think we both wanted to kill each other that first year. So we went to therapy, and our therapist was really good about showing, putting up that like mirror for each to see,
Yeah,
okay, I can see that perspective. So that was really good work. So doing the work is really important too.
for sure.
And
That's
then when you add
important.
kids, it's a whole nother
It
layer,
is,
right?
yeah.
Especially young kids who need you. But just finding time for each other. Date nights don't always look like, because we're not big foodies. We like to eat at home, right? But
Yeah.
so it might look like, how my little brother who lives on the east side, can you watch my kids? So we can,
Right,
just be
yeah.
in our house together
For
and just
sure.
have a conversation without little one interrupting us.
Yeah.
But yeah, being intentional, having good communication, knowing it's not going to always be 50-50. There'll be seasons where there might be some dips, but then figuring out ways to course correct, knowing how
Yeah.
to do that, I
For
say.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would echo all those things. I would say the dates are important
Yeah.
because with the kids and the schedules and everything else, you have to be intentional.
Right.
And so it could just be as simple as like planning, like you said, something on a weeknight or planning a
Yeah.
staycation or something like that. That is helpful for us. Being transparent and being communicative, also understanding each other's love languages. I talk
Yeah.
about that often, even with friendships and
Yeah.
relationships, but
Yeah.
like in marriage, like there's just certain, like I'm more of a words of affirmation
Yeah.
person. My husband's more of a acts of service person. And so I can't just say good things to him and, I have to also love him in his love language, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And reciprocate that. And so those are things that I've learned. And then also like we laugh a lot.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And we also are working on being more emotional with each other I think my husband can be he doesn't like when I say this, but I feel like he's a little more passive than I am.
Mm.
Whereas he thinks I over communicate, and so we try to find a happy
Right,
medium.
right,
So
right.
so yeah, but it's work. It is work.
It's work, but it's
But
good
it's
work.
good. It's
It's
rewarding.
good work if it's meant to be. Because people they aren't
Yeah.
meant to be together.
Exactly.
That's a whole
Yeah.
other
You gotta know that
conversation.
too.
Cut the camera,
Yeah, I know.
cut the
Like, whew.
mic. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah.
But
Okay. Well, thank you for playing my game.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So our next segment is called A Win is a Win.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask you to think about a time that you experienced a challenge and you learned or grew from it, and
Mm.
or a time that you have experienced a success that you are really proud of and want to share with other folks.
Okay, I just top of the dome. The success comes that one. Okay, we'll give
Yeah.
you that one.
Yes.
So right now, my skincare line is really starting to get traction.
Okay,
Because it's
nice. Come
been
on,
out since
skincare.
21,
Yeah.
22. It's all a blur these days. But
Yeah.
I was looking at numbers. I was like, in the first quarter this year, I've hit more product sales than I did all of last year, the entire year. So just
Yeah.
a lot of repeat buyers, getting into stores. You were our
Yes.
first
Come
Washington
on.
State store. And now we're in a store in
Absolutely.
Indiana, hoping to get more of
Nice.
that. So
Congrats.
just
Yeah.
really happy about that,
Yeah.
because I started my skincare line because as a physician, I would see people coming in with acne, eczema, and a lot of the products that were out there to me weren't uh, universally friendly and that not sensitive skin friendly. A lot of people don't realize like having fragrance and things can really irritate people's skin and
Yeah.
scalp and things like that. So
Yeah.
spent a lot of time, a lot of money trying to get these products out, and then for me, it's constantly learning how to market because I went to
Yeah.
medical school. I didn't go to business school, right?
Right.
So to now kind of see some of that hard work pay off and have people buy in and have organizations purchase swag bags for
Yeah.
their events and things like that has been super awesome to see and kind of know
Yes.
like it's like, oh, they like my
Yeah, they
stuff,
like you. Well,
right? So
congratulations.
yeah,
We like to
thank
celebrate
you.
all the wins
Thank
and just
you.
know that, on your journey, you got to, you know this, but continue to celebrate the wins because,
Yeah.
those wins make the lows a little bit easier,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Right. Ooh,
All
yeah.
right. Well, our last segment, we're coming to the end of our show. It's called the pour up.
All right,
Okay.
okay.
And so this is where we pour into each other,
I love
or,
it.
you pour into yourself, or whatever the case may be.
Sure.
All right. So typically we'll do affirmation cards.
Okay.
Today I want to try something a little different,
Okay.
and we are going to demonstrate affirmations.
Okay.
Okay. So I am going to give you some statements, just some prompts, and you're going to respond to them about yourself. Just the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be, anything too crazy, but we're going to create affirmation cards in real time. I am.
Doing the darn thing.
Yeah. I welcome.
Peace and joy.
I deserve.
All the things.
I choose.
Peace.
Yes. I believe.
God is good all the time.
All the time. I trust.
That goodness will always prevail.
I know.
Ooh. I know that I have the answers deep down. I do.
Yeah. I feel.
I feel real good.
Yeah. I create.
Oh gosh. I create harmony in my life if I choose to.
Yeah. Come on off the top. I love.
The life that I'm living.
I am.
Doing the darn thing. That comes up again. We're going to do that
All right.
again. Top of the dome.
That
I
is
just,
the
I
pour
did,
up.
I
Yes,
just let
you
it just
did
roll.
that. So you need to watch this back and say it every morning in the mirror to yourself.
Okay.
But no, I
will.
think that's so important is to keep thinking of those things
Yes.
that are already in you and that are guiding the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Those are like your core values, really. So thank you so much for being here
Thank
today. It was a
you.
pleasure. How can the
Yes.
people find you?
So, okay, lots of ways to reach me. So the website that leads to everything is Margaret Towolawi, MD. It's a mouthful. MARGARET TOWOLAWI MD, medical doctor, MD.com. That's my general website. That leads you to the skin business and primary care.
Okay.
Instagram, SkinStat MD, SKINSTAT MD, which hopefully you'll link that
Yes.
with this.
Absolutely.
That's the skin business. And then primary care is Nurture Well Center, NURTURE Well Center. And then my author page is author Margaret Towolawi, first and
Jeez
last name. Lots of
Louise,
things,
lady.
but yeah.
You're doing all
Try
the
to keep the
things.
things
You're doing the
separate.
dang thing.
Skin, primary
Yeah.
care, and then author stuff.
That's
So
amazing.
anyway,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, we'll be keeping up with you. Thank you for being here. Thanks, y'all, for
Thank
tuning in again.
you.
See you
See
later.
ya.
Bye.